class. And so that's the goal here for LSU, and we'll talk to Billy Embody about how things are going on that front here in 15 minutes. But I do want to start with the New Orleans Saints. Yesterday, when we went on the air, we knew that the Derek Carr situation was not great, but not catastrophic. We weren't sure exactly what the diagnosis was when we came on. Now, during the show, we kind of found out, it's not going to be catastrophic. But Dennis Allen did meet with the media and talked about what the situation is with his starting quarterback.
He was much better today than he was yesterday. We're going to continue to evaluate him, and when he's healthy enough that he can go out and perform and do the things that he needs to do to give our team a chance to win, then he'll be back in there. And so I can't tell you when that's going to be. People heal at different rates, and there's been players that have played with this injury in 1 week. There's been players that it takes a couple weeks, so we'll just have to wait and see.
The report is that it's an AC joint sprain. I've never sprained my AC joint, and I've never played NFL quarterback. So I can't tell you exactly what the situation is there, but to me, just as a very, very novice viewer and non-medical professional, I'd be like, well, you sprain your throwing shoulder joint, I got to think you're going to miss a couple of games, right? I mean, is it unreasonable for me to think that this might be 2 or 3 weeks? That's what it feels like to me. Now, if he goes out there and plays on Sunday, more power to him. That's quick healing and toughness, and that's great. I didn't think Joe Burrow should have been out there last night, and he played. They won the game. So this feels to me like it's going to be a few weeks. And this is the quintessential discussion that you have when you start a football season about what is your backup quarterback. If you're the Jets and your starting quarterback misses the entire season, I don't care who you are, your chances, in my opinion, of having a really strong season and meeting the goals and playing deep into the playoffs are almost zero. Yeah, Drew Bledsoe got hurt, and that worked out okay for the Patriots. Got it. And you can come up with some situations here or there. The 49ers did a great job last year dealing with quarterback injuries. It's not impossible to succeed over the course of 3 months with a backup. It's incredibly unlikely. The more likely situation is that, hey, your quarterback has got an AC joint sprain, has got, a broken finger, has got something, and we're going to miss 2 or 3 weeks. Can your backup function for a couple of weeks? And that is what I believe the Saints situation is becoming over the next month. Jameis Winston's your backup. Do I want him to be the quarterback for 17 weeks? I do not. Hunt Palmer, not interested in Jameis Winston being the face of your NFL franchise for 17 games. Can he function for 3? I think he can. But we have to frame this accurately. Because I think when Jameis Winston's name pops up, the first thought is, okay, this guy threw for 5,109 yards in an NFL season. A 5,000-yard passer. He led the NFL in passing yards. Wow. And you would also pretty quickly pivot to, and he also threw 30 interceptions that year. Those are the two stats that immediately come to mind with Jameis Winston. But that was 4 years ago. It was with a different coach on a different roster. The Saints signed him, and Breeze got hurt in 2020, and Jameis Winston did not start a single game. They went with Taysom Hill. Decided that was a better option for the Saints. I think that said a lot. Said a lot to me. Now, some would say, well, Sean Payton's just trying to be the smartest guy in the room. He took this quarterback gadget guy out of BYU, and he was going to make that work. Whatever. I kind of look at it as he thought Taysom Hill probably gave him the best chance. If he thought that Jameis gave him the best chance, but he just wanted to be the smartest guy in the room, so he put Taysom Hill out there, then you got a whole different issue. But I think they thought Taysom Hill gave him the best shot. In 2021, Jameis started 7 games. He never threw for 280 yards in any of those games. He threw for under 150 yards in 3 of those games. He did a better job of taking care of the ball, 14 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, but then he got hurt against the Bucs. Devin White's horse collar, missed the rest of that year. You remember the video of him dancing in the locker room on crutches after he got hurt. Then in 2022, he started the first 3 games last year. In the second half of week 1 against Atlanta, he was really, really good. And for that game, he was 23 of 34, threw for 269, threw 2 touchdowns. Michael Thomas had a big game, and he didn't turn it over, didn't throw an interception in that game. But weeks 2 and 3 against Tampa and Carolina weren't good. 50 of 81 for 589, which is okay. 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And in the game against Tampa, he was sacked 6 times and threw 3 picks. Andy Dalton came in after the injury. Jameis was healthy and ready to play at the end of the season. They went with Andy Dalton in that spot. The Saints coaching staff doesn't have a massive amount of trust in Jameis Winston, in my opinion, based on the fact that Andy Dalton and Taysom Hill got chances over 2 different staffs over Jameis Winston. Now, Winston was a starter last year, but once it came to big football games in November, when Jameis was healthy enough to play, he didn't. So, this framing Jameis Winston as a quarterback who threw for 5,000 yards and threw for 30 touchdowns and has this number 1 overall pick skill set is probably not the case right now with the quarterback he is today. This is a quarterback who has not been a full-time starter since 2019. That was 4 years ago. He's been hurt. He's sat on the bench. He's had limited practice reps because he hasn't been the starting quarterback. Do I think he's a solid backup? I do. Do I think that's the way we need to talk about Jameis Winston? I do. Now, if Jameis Winston stepped into the Eagles situation with an elite offensive front and great weapons, I'd feel really good about that. But Jameis Winston stepping into an offensive line that has been awful, in my opinion, a running game that has not gotten going at all, and an offense that's really been stuck in the mud. So I'm a little concerned with Jameis Winston playing with a poor running game against a defense that can pin its ears back and come after him as a pass rushing team because you're behind the chains a lot. And at that point, I start to worry about the interceptions. The Saints are going to have to figure out a way to play better up front and to get some sort of running game going for Jameis Winston. That remains to be seen. Dennis Allen was asked yesterday, say, hey, so how do you get this thing going?
Ultimately, I think those things start up front. I think we've done a good job of identifying where we're going. I don't know that we've, always gotten to those spots every time. So we had some plays in the game that got us ahead of the sticks, and yet there's a penalty of some sort, which then puts you back into a negative situation. So obviously that's something that we got to get cleaned up. And, I recognize that everybody's frustrated with that, and yet we are too. And we know that that's an area that we've got to improve.
I'm not trying to be an injury prognosticator here. I'm just going to throw out a reasonable guess. That's doable, a reasonable guess? I'm going to guess that Derek Carr misses the next 3 games. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 2, maybe it is 3. I think 3 is a reasonable guess. And that's what it is, a guess. Those 3 are the Buccaneers at home and road trips to New England and Houston. The Bucs are actually the team that Jameis has played against a lot. You remember the Devin White game that I was talking about back in 2021. And then last year he did play against Tampa in a game that he was sacked 6 times and had 3 interceptions. Now, this is a different Tampa team. They're 24th in the NFL in pass defense. They're 12th in the NFL in run defense. It's been a pretty average defense. New England's played good defense thus far. They're 5th in pass defense, 9th in run defense. We know they got a defensive-minded head coach. And the Texans, although they do have a defensive-minded head coach, Stingley's out on IR. They're not great on defense. So, is it possible for the Saints to get through these 2 games at 2-1? That's, in my opinion, the goal with Jameis Winston. Your defense is playing lights out. You're dealing with Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones, and C.J. Stroud. If you think, and it's reasonable in my opinion to think that the Saints defense can hold these teams to 20 or less, as they've done for 11 straight games, is Jameis good enough to pilot the offense, to get them around 24 points, and not turn the football over and compromise this defense that's played so well. That's the biggest deal for Jameis. Be the guy that you were in 2021 through those 7 games where you had 14 touchdowns and 3 picks. It was a conservative offense. They ran the ball a lot. It was a lot of short passes. And hey, if you got to take a sack here or there or throw it away and punt, we can do that because the defense is okay. Just don't jeopardize the defense by being the guy that turns the ball over like you did last year. In 2-week span, you turned it over 5 times via the interception. That's what it's going to take for the Saints. I don't feel awesome about it, but it's doable. This is the role of the backup quarterback. Not to play 17 games. You're not going to win very many divisions or playoff games if that's your case, that you got a backup quarterback out there for the entire season like the Jets do this year. However, in a span where you got to get through 3 games with a backup quarterback, the Saints did it with Teddy Bridgewater. They did it with Taysom Hill. They've done it in the past with a different staff. They've got to find a way to do it with Jameis Winston. And to me, that's finding a way to go 2-1 through the next 3. At that point, you're 4-2, and you feel like you're probably atop the division. Would help if your win was against one of the wins was against the Bucs this week. You're probably atop the division. We'll see. All right, we still got a lot to get to. Some recruiting talk coming up next. Billy Embody, he's, of course, from the On3 Network. He also covers SMU, which I find a little bit interesting. So I'm going to drop an SMU question as to what the vibes are over there as they look to move into the ACC. But a lot of LSU recruiting talk when we come back.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issue, knowledgeable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or somebody who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up and down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sean Salisbury joins us. And how do you fix the Saints offensive line? Former Saint Germain Bushrod will tell us. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along on here, this Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. Glenn West, go 24/7 with us. Coming up in 15 minutes. But right now, let's chat with our guy, Billy Embody from the On3 Network. A little LSU recruiting talk. Billy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. I actually want to start a non-LSU. I think everyone knows that you're on the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 Network covering LSU, but you also do some work for the SMU site as well. What are the vibes over there as they've potentially bought themselves into the ACC and the Power Five?
Yeah, well, it is mixed reviews right now after last weekend in Fort Worth. Look, there is the fact that SMU has had a history in college football, winning national championships, the Pony Express, all of that, Joke Walker, but they haven't, since the death penalty, been able to get back into the power conferences. And, you know, there are a lot of other schools out there that are in them that you can debate how committed they are to winning. But SMU is certainly one of those schools that loves to spend money. And so they felt like this was a final lifeboat to get into a power conference, and it worked out. You know, they're going to forego a bunch of money. They raised a bunch of money to make this happen. And but now they feel like with that seat at the table, they can, you know, maybe take that next step as a program. They've got the facilities. They've got a well-paid coaching staff. They've led the way kind of since NIL has come back into play, or I guess, you know, the modern history of NIL. But they haven't really gotten it done on the field. And they played Oklahoma. They played TCU in non-conference, and both games were winnable games, but they've come up short. So this past weekend was kind of a stark reminder that they still have to kick the door down on, you know, winning big games against power conference opponents, especially since they're going into the ACC now. But there's optimism that now that they at least have this logo, they can recruit better, they can build a roster that's going to be more competitive, but they still need to get some winning done on the field. And in an AAC that is a little watered down this year, it wouldn't shock me if SMU and Tulane are playing for the championship come December. And, you know, a lot of SMU folks are ready for that championship win to kind of come to fruition and send them off into the ACC the right way.
All right, let's talk some LSU recruiting. Obviously now with 2 home games in the books, opportunity to get some folks on campus. And one player that was on campus, Terry Bussey, 5-star from Texas, and a guy that I think most have seen visiting A&M a good bit. But LSU got that visit right before the announcement is set. So is there any opportunity for LSU to make a last-second push there?
Yeah, I think with Terry Bussey, you know, an East Texas kid who has gone through a lot in his life. He's lost a couple family members far too early, and so actually lives with a guardian situation. And I get the feeling that staying closer to that situation is probably a piece that's going to, you know, probably carry the day a little bit for the Aggies. But LSU has been a program that hosted him back in June. It was a visit that he really wanted to make, and he was actually supposed to take his official in June before he had surgery on his knee, and so he couldn't really get around. He didn't want to, quite honestly, he didn't want to, I guess, be more of a burden than a visitor in June, at least the way he put it to me. He wanted to be able to move around and not have to be, you know, catered to in that way. He's a very humble kid. a 4.0 student, just one of those great kids you kind of root for with everything he's been through. But right now, it seems like Texas A&M has all the buzz around them, still coming off of official visits to Alabama and LSU. But we'll see if LSU in the final minutes can kind of turn this one back their way. But it has been kind of that idea that Texas A&M was going to get him, at least leaving the summer. But he did want to make a couple visits, and LSU got the last one. So we'll be kind of tracking it towards the final days here before his decision on Friday, but it does seem like A&M has most of the buzz.
Defensive line has been certainly a position of need in this cycle. LSU was close and not quite enough with Colin Simmons, a big 5-star. Dominic McKinley commits out of state from right here in Acadiana. And they're kind of looking at other options. It sounds like Gabriel Relaford might be one of those. He's from 318 up there in Shreveport. He's Evangel Eagle. Is there any chance that they could pry him away from his Texas A&M commitment?
Yeah, I think there's a chance. Getting him on campus was a nice step. I didn't get the sense that there was anything imminent coming in terms of a decommitment or a flip or anything like that. But in terms of the two that are in state, the two top defensive linemen that are top 100 prospects in Dominic McKinley and Gabriel Relaford, there seems like there's a little bit more of maybe an opportunity to get Gabe Relaford, who's having a terrific senior season. He's following up a great junior season with that. But, A&M has done a really nice job getting him on board early. They were able to get his commitment in June. They had him back on campus in July. I believe he went back to A&M this month sometime as well. But LSU did get him on campus with his full family with him for the Grambling game, which was, something you want to see. You want to see LSU get these players, these targets, commits, whatever, on campus as much as you possibly can. And if he makes a return visit, which LSU does have an official visit in its back pocket, then maybe you see it become a little bit more serious. I know the offer did resonate with him, being a Louisiana kid, but he's also a young man that, made a commitment, and he and his family are pretty big on following things through. And so I think there's a door that could maybe get creaked open, but it's going to take a return visit. It's going to take, them keeping on him very, very hard and just showing him how big of a priority he is, because LSU did offer late. They offered in July. And I think that as big of a need as he is, he does have, relationships on the A&M side as well that are there. So they're going to keep swinging away on him, but at least you got him on campus once, which, makes it where you don't rule out him coming back.
You mentioned the need. Is there anywhere else LSU can turn for defensive linemen from the high school ranks, or does this sound like it's going to be a pretty heavy portal ad class with defensive linemen once again?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to go to the portal first and foremost. They just have to address the position that way with guys that can play right away. You're going to lose Jordan Jefferson at minimum, and so you need to bring in another big body in the middle to kind of help that depth, help that talent. But they do have Melvin Hills in state, who they're looking at from LCA, where he's committed to Texas. His teammate at Lafayette Christian is Juwan Johnson, who's committed to LSU. But I think they would probably be better served just going after somebody who's proven in the portal. We've seen what Jordan Jefferson can do on the field now that he's gotten more of an opportunity. I'd like to see him get a bigger one, and then you can kind of keep showing that to transfer targets and saying, hey, we have a need. We are not afraid to play you and give you opportunities. Just come in here and be a difference maker, because LSU needs them, and they need that depth and rotation, and we'll see what happens with Mason Smith, of course, as far as his future goes, whether he comes back or leaves early. But they need to go to the portal to get guys that can play right away for sure.
I'd hesitate to judge a staff on one recruitment here or there. I think the big picture is a far more relevant talking point. I know there are some that are a little disappointed with LSU's defensive line recruiting. We understand there's some situations on the coaching staff that have made that a little bit of an issue, but how would you assess LSU's defensive line recruiting in the Brian Kelly era here in year two?
Yeah, it needs to get better. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to, find a problem with me saying that. I don't think, but it's one of those things where, now that they have Jimmy Lindsey in that unfortunate situation, a lot of the guys are in the 24 class are going to certainly wonder, what is the future there? And I would imagine the staff is having some conversations there. I talked to Ahmad Burrow, one of their commitments, on Friday, and he just said that they keep in touch, and he didn't want to go too far into that, but he said he loves Jimmy Lindsey and all those things. But when it comes down to it in the SEC, you've got to be able to get some of these high-level guys. George has also made a living off of some of those three-star guys panning out. But for LSU, they've got to find players that can develop into really big difference makers, because you have Demarion Johnson, you have Ahmad Burrow, you have Kalaj Cobbins as a kind of an edge tweener commitment, but you need to find guys that have that high upside, that if they're flying under the radar, you can bring them in, add weight, develop. They have that twitch. They it just seems for me that they currently have or will be getting some more depth guys. You need to see that difference maker. Even you go back to like a Rashard Lawrence, who was a 5-star. He probably didn't live up to a 5-star billing, but he had that talent. He had that athleticism that made him be able to be a contributor. And those are the types of guys that you have to complement a true talent like a Mason Smith or a Calevon Chasson back in the day, in a way. And you've got to just be able to be all encompassing. And right now they haven't hit on all cylinders in that. So it's been a revolving door of defensive line coaches, which doesn't necessarily help either. But they've got to find a way to do what Brad Davis, quite honestly, has kind of done with that offensive line, where you've seen some continuity with him as the coach. He's gone out nationally and in Louisiana and gotten the guys that they've really targeted. He's cast a wide net. And, Brad has probably had, I would say, as far as his position goes, the most guys officially visit. And he's still coming away with, especially each of the last 2 years, a class that is, one, really good, and two, you've seen him hit on some of his top targets, both in-state and out-of-state, whereas, he's also shooting for the fence or shooting for the stars on some of these, super high-level prospects. But it's all kind of complemented each other well. So the defensive line, we got to see that.
Thanks, Billy. We appreciate it, man.
Anytime. Thanks for having me. Billy
Embody, part of the On3 Sports Network. Check him out on the Bengal Tiger with Shea Dixon and Matthew Bruni. Does an awesome job, and we thank him. Chatting a little recruiting here on this Tuesday. We'll take a time out, come back with Glenn West, talk about the current Tigers on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. Tell you every single day, David Duvall and his team have been doing this for 30 years. You do something for 30 years, you've probably got it figured out, and they certainly do. When it comes to bathroom renovations and remodeling, closet renovations and remodeling, David Duvall and his team are fantastic. If you've got a great interest rate, you love where you live, you're not looking to move, but maybe you could use an update here or there, David Duvall and his team can absolutely do it. Can do a full-scale bathroom renovation, remodel, or just a tub-to-shower conversion, something very simple. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's a loved one in your life who wants to stay in that home but may need some things for safety, whether it's a walk-in tub, maybe some guardrails, handrails around the tub, toilet area. David Duvall and his team can do all of that. Just go to the website, onebathandclosets.com, look at the testimonials, look at the pictures of some of their work, and then request that consultation. Let David and his team come to your home, check out, and tell you what they can do, and they'll get it started. I can promise you this. They'll do it right the first time and leave that competition behind. David Duvall, One Bath and Closets, that website, onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225.
Wednesday's OTB, the return of flustering as Matt Flynn breaks down what he's seen on the football field, but probably not because we just talk about nonsense, and break down how the Saints are going to look to bounce back against the Buccaneers. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline we go. It is Glenn West, Go 247, senior right over there with us every Tuesday. Joins us now. Glenn, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Hunt. How are you?
I'm good. Was Saturday a success for LSU? Was it concerning? What was it?
I would say it was more of a success than a concern. I mean, look, obviously what the defense had put forth there in the second half wasn't great, especially kind of just losing the eye discipline and losing kind of focus at times. It seems as KJ Jefferson was able to really make his way and have a really great second half to keep Arkansas in that game. But I like to focus more on just what the offense was able to do. I mean, scoring 6 straight times in the second half and into the first half. Jaden Daniels, I think, put together another really strong performance overall. And, when you kind of take into account the struggles that he had for most of that first half, to bounce back the way that he did in the second half with that really phenomenal second half was just really, really impressive. I mean, when you're talking about room for improvement for a guy that throws for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns, I think you're usually in a pretty good spot in terms of your offense. So was really impressed with the offensive performance and just being able to kind of answer all the shots that Arkansas was taking at them in the second half. And defensively, you heard it from Coach Kelly yesterday. There's still a lot that needs to be worked on. We'll see if they try to switch some things up personnel-wise this weekend. I think that they've kind of settled in on a group of players on the defense that they really trust and are going to kind of assemble most of the reps. But you never know. I mean, this is a really big weekend for them to kind of get right, another top 20 matchup, and I think it'll be a really good test to see just how far this team has come since the last time they played a ranked opponent.
What was the biggest issue on defense Saturday?
I would probably say just the improvisation of KJ Jefferson really kind of limited what this front seven was able to do. I actually thought the front seven was able to pressure him pretty well and get into the backfield and force him out of the pocket. It was really just about bringing him down. And Coach Kelly said it after the game that they just could not get him on the ground. And he was able to extend plays. And when you're able to extend plays, it means that your secondary is having to really guard and stay with their assignments for a lot longer. And you could tell it really got to them a little bit there in that second half. They were losing assignments. Their eye discipline was not great. So I think it was probably a combination of just not being able to get Jefferson on the ground, which is a credit to him, but also, the secondary kind of getting picked on a little bit in the second half. And I think that's something they really need to work on this week for Ole Miss.
Sean Womack got him on the ground once. Do you think you'll see more of him moving forward?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, look, he played only 5 snaps on Saturday and made the most of them. I mean, I think he had 2 tackles. He had the 1 sack. So, I mean, in very limited reps, he showed you what he's capable of doing. After listening to Coach Kelly's answer, though, on Monday, it sounds like he's going to be a part of a rotation, but wouldn't expect him to be kind of the leading guy there at the end. I think you're going to see a lot of Savion Jones and Braden Swinson still at that spot. I would actually like to see Mason Smith slide over and get some defensive end reps as well. I think the way that Jordan Jefferson has been playing, the way that Mekhi Wingo has been playing on the interior, those guys are really doing it for you on the inside. And so maybe a way to get Mason unlocked in a little bit is to move him around and see if he can't have more of an impact off the edge. So I wouldn't mind seeing that, but I do think Deshaun Womack plays a little bit more than what we saw against Arkansas, but how much more I couldn't really tell you.
What have you seen from Mason Smith?
It's been a struggle. I mean, I think he's still finding his game legs. He's still trying to have some kind of an impact. I think he's getting pushed back a lot more than he's doing the pushing himself right now. And look, he played 50 snaps and was really on the field a lot for this game against Arkansas. I think we just have to be patient with him, to be quite honest with you. I mean, he was out of football for a year. I mean, it's been a pretty consistent answer from Brian Kelly whenever we've asked about him, but it just looks like a player that's just a step slow right now, trying to find his sea legs, and I think he'll get there. But I think LSU is hoping that the light kind of turns on for him sooner than later, because they really need him to start having an impact there on the interior line.
Glenn West, go 247, our guest here on the Jim's Firearm Hotline, joins us every Tuesday in the 1 o'clock hour. Offensively, second straight week, we've seen Jaden take some shots. Now, he missed 2 early, and then the Brian Thomas touchdown on the free play was not the best throw ever, but it was a free play. But it's happening more often. Do we expect to see that to continue?
Yeah, well, I think it's just the fact that he was able to do it 2 weeks in a row, and like you said, it wasn't consistent. It wasn't as good as it looked in the Mississippi State game. But I think the fact that he's taking those shots is just kind of an indication of just how comfortable he is, how much he trusts specifically Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas in this offense. I think you need to see him continue to take those shots. I think that's been the biggest takeaway that we've had in SEC play, is that he's been more aggressive. He's trusting his arm a little bit more than he was early in the season, and it's paying dividends. I mean, when you're taking those shots, the defenses have to respect it at the very least. And even if you're not hitting them, it kind of forces you to make adjustments as a defense. And so I think if he can continue to show a willingness to take those shots, even if he's not 100%, 70%, even 50% on those shots sometimes, then I think the offense is in a really good spot. I mean, I think it can open up things for you, certainly in the run game, in the intermediate game. But I just think the trust that he has right now with Malik Neighbors and with Brian Thomas Jr. in particular, it's really going to have it's paying off, and I think they're really going to have something special. I think both of those guys are on pace for over 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns. We'll see if they can keep that up. But the way that the passing offense has looked the last couple weeks is closer to how I think many people were hoping it would look coming into the season.
All right, let's move forward to Saturday. Ole Miss did not do very much on the offensive side in Tuscaloosa, but we know that they've got some talent over there. What's the biggest key for LSU defensively against the Rebs?
Yeah, I think probably just continuing to try to get pressure on a mobile quarterback like Jackson Dart. You know, they've been able to get pressure up front, but you know, when it comes to the mobile quarterbacks, they've struggled to get them on the ground. That even extends back to obviously what Jordan Travis is able to do with Florida State. But I think this is going to be a really good matchup for the secondary, not just because, you know, it's not from a talent standpoint, because these are really talented Ole Miss receivers. I think from a size standpoint, though, we're going to get a really good look at just kind of what this secondary looks like with guys that maybe are a little bit kind of closer to them in terms of length and just overall size. I'll be very interested to see how the secondary responds this weekend. And after kind of a rough second half there, wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of a Terrence Welch mixed in. You know, Denver Harris and Zy Alexander are obviously kind of penciled in as your starters right now, but I think there's some wiggle room there to maybe get some other guys involved. Safety, you know, you're still looking at Andre Sam and Major Burns. You know, I really like, you know, what Sam has done the last couple of weeks. I think he's been pretty consistent for you. If they can, you know, kind of shore up the tackling a little bit in the secondary and kind of keep just to their jobs, like what Brian Kelly has said multiple times here over the last couple of days, I think this is a defense that has real potential, but you just got to see them put it together consistently for 4 quarters.
Think they win on Saturday?
I do. I think they win. I don't know that it's going to be a particularly, you know, big win. I think that they probably go in there and win somewhere in the range of 7 to 10 points if I had to guess. But I do think the way that this offense is moving right now, they're going to have a lot of success. And you know, if you can at least get to Jackson Dart and make him a thrower instead of a runner, I think that is probably the best formula for LSU to kind of have success against that Ole Miss offense. You know, they're going to be coming off obviously a really, you know, disappointing performance against Bama last weekend, so they're going to have you got to go in expecting they're going to give you your best shot. So you know, this is still a team that has SEC West implications in terms of trying to win it, and they've got to win this game against LSU. So LSU's got to be able to match that physicality and to match whatever it is that Ole Miss is going to bring at them. But I do think LSU gets out with a win on Saturday.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right. Thanks, Son. Appreciate it.
Glenn West, Go247 senior writer, all your LSU recruiting and team needs over there at Go247. Glenn's with us each and every Tuesday. If you're looking for something to do on this Tuesday, might I recommend Pluckers Sports Trivia? I'll be there, sweating the Cubs big time last week of the season. Got some live action trivia. You can win Pluckers gift cards, delicious cold beers, fantastic food. 8:30 Nicholson location. We're there each and every Tuesday. 8:30, we'll have you out of there by 10 o'clock. Always a good time. So grab a team and come on out to Pluckers on Nicholson. Had some new teams that we didn't recognize last week. So come on out. Join the party. It's a lot of fun over there at Pluckers on Nicholson. 8:30 Sports Trivia each and every Tuesday. We will take a timeout. Come back and close out hour number 1 with some Joe Burrow thoughts. Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. The collaboration between these two is going to provide patients in our region with cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in our state that's got a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. These treatment plans are all customized to the patient. You got direct access to MD Anderson specialists and researchers. There's groundbreaking research and innovative therapies, as well as select clinical trials if the patient is eligible. Everybody that's listening has some connection to cancer one way or another, and Ochsner and MD Anderson are continuing that fight against cancer. Their expert care is being offered in 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and Baton Rouge, and Ochsner and MD Anderson are working together to certify additional sites moving forward. If you'd like more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, visit Ochsner.org. That's Ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering.
Kate Voisian inviting you to join me along with the coaches Todd Black and Jimmy Roy for the next edition of Louisiana Prep Weekly. We'll welcome in our special guest, Parkview Baptist head football coach Stephon LaFours. Louisiana Prep Weekly, Wednesday night at 6, live from Walk-Ons in Town Center on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Congratulations to Beatsy Plaisance. Beatsy, our Week 4 winner in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest, wins a Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 5 by noon on Thursday. Play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. I feel like there are a lot of you listening who spent some time early in 2020 doing what I did a little bit of, which was replaying some 2019 LSU football highlights. Wasn't a lot to do. Couldn't go to dinner. Couldn't travel. It's just kind of at home. And there wasn't any live sports on, so you hit YouTube and you check out some LSU highlights. And certainly, if you were doing that, you would have watched the LSU-Clemson national championship game a couple of times, seen the highlights. And that was Chris Fowler, Burrow to Chase. You had a couple of touchdowns between the two, and Chris Fowler's exclaiming really loud, it's Burrow to Chase. And last night, you turn on the game for Monday Night Football. You got the Bengals and Rams, and there you got Chris Fowler yelling Burrow to Chase, which felt very nostalgic. I really enjoyed that little trip down memory lane calling those two. I said yesterday I didn't want Joe Burrow to play in that game. He was obviously hurt pretty significantly at the beginning of training camp. He missed pretty much all of it. Came back in week 1, wasn't great. Came back in week 2 and re-injured it. He was limping pretty badly. And I'm just like, just take a couple of weeks. But they asked Joe Burrow earlier this week, like, hey, does the fact that y'all are 0-2 like matter to you, or is that weighing into your decision? He's like, yeah, I mean, I got to think about that. And so he went out there and played. And if you watched the game last night between the Bengals and Rams, it really was a good coaching performance by the Bengals staff and the offense. They realized they had a compromised quarterback who couldn't really run, who was fairly immobile, but can make really good, quick decisions. And they just said, we're just going to get the ball out immediately. And that's something that, throwing the ball 49 times like they did against an Aaron Donald pass rush is not super comfortable. And Joe only took 2 sacks. He did throw the pick that was a really impressive play by the DB from the Rams, but it was almost Leach-esque in terms of the quickness with which Joe Burrow was getting rid of the ball. And that's just what they felt the best way to move the football was. And it wasn't a clinic. I mean, they didn't have a touchdown in the first half. It was 6-6 at halftime, and they scored 1 touchdown late, and Mixon ran it in. But they got the ball in Jamar Chase's hand for 12 catches. He had 15 targets in the game. He had 141 yards, and they found a way to do enough, and their defense was good enough to limit the Rams to 16 points, and they got a win. And that's a big win for the Bengals. You really couldn't afford to lose 2 home games in the first 3 weeks with the potential that the Ravens could run away from you. Ravens lose in week 3, you win, and all of a sudden you're just a game back of the teams inside your division. You got a couple of road trips coming up to the Titans, to the Cardinals. And who knows if Burrow is going to get healthier by the week or it's just going to linger all year long. I don't know. I'm hopeful that they can find some rest for him. He doesn't have to practice a lot, but that can hurt the production of the offense. It's just a bad spot to be in if you're the Bengals. But if they can find a way to win the next 2 on the road, it changes the math pretty quickly. Now, you struggle and lose a couple on the road, you're back in big, big trouble. But it was great for them to get the win last night. It was great for Burrow and Chase to hook up as many times as they did, and then to have Fowler on the call really was like it just brought me right back. And it's the only reason I pull for the Bengals is because they bring me back to LSU, and certainly last night listening to Fowler on the call and hearing those 2 guys, that was quality. So that finishes up your Monday night slate and the slate for week 3. We'll move forward into week 4 of the NFL this coming weekend, and hopefully Burrow a little healthier when they head over to Nashville. That'll do it for hour number 1 here of the Hunt Palmer Show. I want to remind you, our first segment today was talking about Jameis Winston and his coming in to play backup for as long as it takes until Derek Carr can play. I just don't think Carr is going to play this week. Is he going to play moving forward? I had maybe a 12-minute take on that. If you're interested in that, you can find it all the places you always find our stuff on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or on YouTube. Or you can find it on our YouTube channel, Hunt on Saints, which has all your Saints football content cut up into 10, 12-minute segments. Beck does an awesome job with that each and every day. So if you would subscribe to that channel, that would mean a ton to us. It's Hunt on Saints. Can't be any easier than that. We talked to Jameis at LSU. If you want some LSU content, you can do that as well. Hunt on LSU. Billy Embody and Glenn West, 1 on recruiting, 1 on the team. As it is right now, that'll be on our LSU YouTube channel moving forward. And hour number 2, got plenty to get to. Sharif Ishak on the Black and Gold at 2:30. When we come back after SportsCenter, I've got thoughts on LSU's defensive backfield and where they turn and some statistics to put into perspective what they've done through a month. It's not awesome. Come back with us after SportsCenter on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers seemed to directly address his team's locker room during today's appearance on the Pat McAfee Show. Said the Jets need to lock in, do their job, and don't point fingers. Added he doesn't like the side stuff, referring to some of the heated sideline conversations on Sunday. Rodgers also said he continues to make progress after his Achilles surgery. The Jets, under pressure to address their quarterback situation, will sign veteran Trevor Siemian to their practice squad, according to ESPN. The move comes after another rough performance from Zach Wilson, who has gotten a vote of confidence from coach Robert Saleh. ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday.
Look, Zach Wilson's going out doing his absolute best. If they have an option or a move that they could make, they'll make it. If they don't feel like it, he has to sell it to his locker room the way he is. Zach Wilson gives it the best chance to win. I understand it upsets fans.
Jeff Saturday on Carlin versus Joe Wilson is set to start Sunday night against the Chiefs. Giants running back Saquon Barkley, ankle injury considered day-to-day. New York Liberty star Breonna Stewart named 2023 WNBA MVP.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, we start to look ahead to Week 4, which includes some huge divisional matchups. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Tuesday. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Appreciate you spending some of your afternoon with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Sharif Ishak, 30 minutes from now, talking about the Saints. Sharif was not up in beautiful Wisconsin, which turned very ugly for the Saints in the fourth quarter. But he'll have his thoughts on that, and then we'll talk about the Saints getting ready for Tampa Bay with Alvin Kamara and likely without Derek Carr. That's coming up at the bottom of this hour. I want to talk LSU in this hour, and speaking of ugly, the defensive back group has not been great in a couple of big spots for this team. We're all very well aware of that. And those, of course, are the Florida State and Arkansas games. In those two games, you're facing very veteran quarterbacks who have been around the block and seen it all, and they played great in those games. Jordan Travis was 23 of 31. He threw for 342 yards and 4 touchdowns, had the one interception that Deuce Chestnut stepped in front of around the line of scrimmage. KJ Jefferson, 21 of 31. He threw for 289. 3 touchdown passes for KJ Jefferson and really 1 interception. I'm not going to give LSU a ton of credit for the last play of the game. Certainly not going to hold that against KJ Jefferson. So if you put those two outings together, you've got 44 of 62. That is 71% completion, which is way too much. For 631 yards, that's 315 yards per game, basically. And then you've given up 3.5 touchdowns to 1 pick per game. 7 TDs and 2 picks. It's just too good. 71% for 351 yards and 3 touchdowns, 3.5 touchdowns, is obviously not going to be acceptable. Now, obviously, the outlier here is the game LSU played against Will Rogers. And I would say that Will Rogers was completely lost in the wilderness because he looked that way in their first couple of games prior to LSU, but he actually threw it really well last week. So it's in there, and maybe Mississippi State completely overhauled everything, and they made the improvements from LSU to South Carolina. Maybe not. I don't know. But I do know that against Jordan Travis and KJ Jefferson, LSU was not good enough. So you look at on third down, LSU is 102nd in the country in third down defense. There are only 133 teams. In the SEC, only Kentucky and Vanderbilt have done a worse job of getting off the field on third down. Florida State on third down was 9 of 14. Arkansas was 8 of 13. Between the two games, 17 of 27, that is 63%. Those teams are converting on third downs. It's just really difficult to beat anybody if you never get off the field on third downs. So Brian Kelly was asked yesterday in his press luncheon on Mondays, like, okay, what tweaks need to be made here?
We tend to lose our focus, and we just have to drive that home with this group that when they are doing the little things the right way, they're a pretty good defense. When they try to do like your job and somebody else's job and not their own job, we're not so good. And that's just the maturation of the group. We've got young corners that don't have a lot of experience, and our safeties have to be consistent. They're trying to make up for some inexperience and trying to do a little bit too much, and they just got to do their jobs. And when that group really comes together with our front seven, I think we're going to be a really good defense.
It's interesting because you look back at some of the plays and you look at Keon Coleman going up over the top of 2 different LSU DBs to make jump ball catches in the Florida State game. And it's like, well, he's just better than the guy you got. He just did it to win a game at Clemson. Like, he's just a great player. And so while I wish LSU had a player out there that was every bit as good as Keon Coleman and knocked the ball away, I'm not gonna blame too many people for that, right? Like, it just, they threw it up there and the really good player made a really good play. And then I look at, the touchdown that Arkansas scored on Saturday where Jefferson breaks contain and Zy Alexander's looking in the backfield and the guy just runs behind him and he's still looking at KJ Jefferson breaking contain. And that is a mental error. That's just like, oh, you really need to plaster to the receiver, not look at the quarterback breaking contain and run with your guy when he runs. So that's a different issue. And then I see the tight end running clean, wide open. And Brian Kelly said there may have been a coverage bust from the linebacker. It might have been with Weeks. But that's a busted coverage, a blown assignment. It's not one individual thing that's causing this defensive unit problems. It's not just that they're not athletic enough. It's not just that they don't know where they're supposed to be. It's not just that the opponent's really good. It's just something different every single time. I remember the 2013 team, their defense couldn't stop anybody. That was the year that Mettenberger threw for 3,000 and Jeremy Hill ran for 1,000 and Jarvis caught 1,000 and Odell caught 1,000. They were great on offense, and you'll go right back to that Georgia game in Athens they were really good. But the DBs specifically in the defense that had limited numbers up front, it was basically just Lockett and Gilmore, I think, or maybe Ego Ferguson, and they didn't have anybody else to play. And constantly, the secondary was looking at each other with their arms held out because they didn't know where to be. They were busting coverages, or they were asking, "Where's my teammate?" Or their communication was incredibly poor, and they were very rarely in the right spot. That's not the issue with this team. That's the biggest issue with this DB group is that it's something new almost every situation. Oh, that's a great play by a great player. Oh, yeah, you didn't quite carry out your assignment or an improvised play. Oh, you busted a coverage right there. Oh, you didn't make a play on the ball. And the question is, like, how much of it's fixable? I don't know. But Brian Kelly was asked, have y'all exhausted, like, all your personnel options in the secondary?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's anybody else that we would bring into the game. We'd like to get, obviously everybody healthy, getting all of the guys out there physically. Spates obviously is one guy that we'd like to get back out on the field. I think there's some other tweaks that we can do defensively to see that we get guys in the right position and let them influence the game accordingly. So there's not another guy that, let's take a red shirt off of a particular player or another guy that's going to get in the rotation. You might see some players play a little bit more.
And that's the deal. Like against Florida, like Zy Alexander played in both of these games. He was a starter in both games, Florida State and Arkansas. Now, Deuce Chestnut started outside against Florida State, and Denver Harris has moved into that spot, so there's one move. Major Burns played in both games as a starting safety, but Greg Brooks played against Florida State, and now Andre Sam's out there in his absence. Deuce Chestnut's moved inside. He's played in some slots. Sage Ryan's moved up and down, but he's been there in both games. But I don't think that like LaTerrence Welsh or Ashton Stamps is like, that's the guy that's going to fix it. I don't know. I don't see him every day in practice, but it would be pretty shocking to me if those two guys were not good enough to draw the attention of the coaching staff and to put them in one of the first 4 games. They didn't do enough in practice and scrimmages to warrant that. But then if they did go out there, then all of a sudden, poof, you got to figure it out. These are the guys that need to be out there. The staff's probably got a pretty good idea of who practices the best. It just, in the games, you're looking at Jordan Travis and KJ Jefferson completing 71% of their throws for 315 yards a game and 3.5 touchdowns a game and just 1 pick a game. I just don't know if there's a silver bullet here to make it all better. You can be encouraged by what they did against Mississippi State. Got a lot of pass rush. Did a good job of covering. Just didn't in the other 2 big games that you played. And you still got Jackson Dart to deal with. You still got whatever Ole Miss is going to throw out there. Sorry, you got whatever A&M's going to throw out there. Missouri's got some pretty talented wide receivers. Jermaine Burton's not bad over at Alabama. We'll see what the quarterback situation is when they show up on LSU's schedule. Graham Mertz is playing better. But right now it's puzzling, and it needs to get better because you can't expect to outscore everyone. It's just not going to work. You've got to have a defense get some stops. And when they do, LSU's going to be brutal to beat. They're going to be brutal to beat. They were in Starkville, and they will be moving forward in the games where the defense gets some stops because I think LSU's offense is going to score far more often than not. They've proven that out. But the defense has got to step up, and it's probably not a personnel change. It's probably guys elevating their level of play. We'll see if that happens or if it doesn't. All right, we'll have more Brian Kelly sound. Sharif Ishak with us in 15 minutes at the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there in the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Tune in this Sunday as we bring you a trio of NFL games. Starting with our noon kickoff, the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Then immediately following, we'll bring you the Raiders and Chargers before our nightcap, the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets, here on 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for the ultimate tailgate. Snap a pic of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win a $500 Rouse's gift card. Our judges are going to select a winner on September the 29th. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Markets, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. As we start to look at Ole Miss and LSU, and what's a huge, huge game for both these programs. If Ole Miss loses this game, and I've heard a lot of discussion about this, you're talking about a situation where they've lost all their goals. Because if you lose to Alabama and LSU, you're not going to Atlanta. And that's a big goal for that program under Lane Kiffin. So now all of a sudden, you've got a band of transfer portal guys, which is what Ole Miss's team is, kind of fighting to see if they can get to a Florida Bowl. And that can be tough. For LSU, you lose this game. It's your second loss. Your odds of getting to the playoff have been hurt significantly. That's obviously a goal for this LSU team. Not impossible, but you're going to have to win out and win the league and hope you probably get some help. So it's a big, big game from that perspective for both teams. And we know the strengths and weaknesses of these two teams right now. LSU's offense looks dynamic. It looks explosive. It looks consistent. It looks high-flying. Their defense looks like it can be an issue. Ole Miss has had no success essentially running the football. They've relied on Jackson Dart throwing it. Good news for Ole Miss is LSU hasn't done a good job of stopping the pass. And Ole Miss defense looks better than it has in previous years. They stood up to Bama last week. Got a big red zone interception, which helps you. But for LSU, I look at this and I say, man, the thought of Lane Kiffin diagramming plays and a veteran quarterback dealing with the way that LSU's DBs have played in a couple of these games could be a significant issue. And my response to that would be, well, what can you do to limit that? Well, one, you can keep the ball. Now, I'm not going to tell LSU to quit scoring 6 times in a row like they have a tendency to do, but if you want to draw it out a little bit and establish the running game and keep your defense fresh and Jackson Dart on the sideline standing next to Pfizer man Lane Kiffin, well, that'd be just fine with me. And the running game over the last 2 games with Mississippi State and Arkansas has improved from what we saw against Florida State. And Brian Kelly spoke about the continued improvement of the running game.
I think it's comprehensive. I think it's the offensive line certainly doing a great job, combination blocks. I think the backs are running hard with intent. We're not looking to bounce it out. We're low pads. We're taking 4, 5, 6 yards, putting ourselves in good down and distance situations accordingly. We're getting better blocking on the perimeter from our receivers that are allowing some of these runs to open up to be bigger runs. So I think it's just a commitment to a physicality that you need in your run game.
And, man, look, I love Leonard Fournette busting 70-yarders. That's great. Love it. Love Jeremy Hill slamming the door on South Carolina and Texas A&M and some of those teams with the 45-yard, 50-yard run for a touchdown. That works great for me. Love it. But if you're telling me this LSU team's going to be really good at running for 5 or 6 yards, especially when they need it, I will take that. Because I don't see the dynamic, explosive NFL back outside of potentially Caleb Jackson, who's down the pecking order on this group. But if Logan Diggs can consistently get me 6 or 7 yards, which is what he did on Saturday, I'm all for it. All for it. And LSU's offensive line should be good enough to do that. It was a little surprising to me that they couldn't get any push on Florida State. That's a good Florida State defensive front that's got veteran guys on it. But LSU couldn't get any push, and that's exactly what gave them problems on those 2 short yardage 4th downs. One got stuffed in the backfield, one was a sack. But if you can run the ball and force some teams to come up there and try to take that away, Jaden's going to be really tough to deal with, taking deep shots and break and contain on busted plays when there's not as many guys in the backfield and creating big plays with his legs. I think that's very, very good. And I was encouraged by the way LSU ran the ball on Saturday with Logan Diggs. Kelly was also asked yesterday, like, have y'all kind of found the rotation you want to go with there?
I think it kind of showed itself kind of the way I've been talking about it, is that we're going to go with the guy that's running well, and Diggs was physical. I mean, but you saw Emery in there. He ran hard. Williams rips off a big run for us. The Diggs obviously had the lion's share because he was running physical. He was running through guys, and I think there's going to be a rotation all year. I don't know that it's always going to be one guy that gets the highlights, but it was Diggs this weekend. But I think it's still going to be a number of guys getting carries at that position. We've got the kind of depth necessary to continue to do that.
And I thought LSU ran it pretty well on that last drive on Saturday night when kind of figured they needed to. Now, you hit the big play to Neighbors to start, and you hit another big play to Neighbors subsequently, but you did have the big run from Logan Diggs as well for 21 yards on that drive. That was huge, but you also had a couple more 5- and 7-yard runs there where, look, they feel like you're probably going to run it, and you showed up man for man, got them blocked, and you got what you needed from your running back. So I'm encouraged by that. I get the concern with the defense because I've got it too very much, but I don't want to skew too far towards, man, secondary stinks, man, not getting off the field on third downs, man, giving up too many points to Florida State and Auburn and Arkansas. Like, that's there, and it's the lead of this second hour of the show today on a Tuesday. But when I take like that, I got to give as well with what the offense is doing, and they're finding themselves a little bit more. Mason Taylor's coming back from injury. He gives you a real weapon in the play-action game should the running game keep going, and you know what you've got on the outside because Neighbors and Thomas have been stars for a couple of weeks now. So that's all very, very encouraging. And as I said in August, as I said in early September, as I'm saying now in late September, LSU's offense is going to have to bail it out a little bit. It is what it is. And they did on Saturday, and they may have to do it again this coming Saturday. You can't count on that every single week. And you couldn't count on it against Florida State. And if the defense doesn't improve, then you're going to lose more games. But if the defense can take some strides and the offense can be really, really good and bail them out one or two more times, might have to go to Tuscaloosa and score 30, might have to come home and against A&M and score 35. Like, maybe you don't, but maybe you do. And your offense is going to have to bail you out there. Sometimes that national championship baseball team, the hitters had to bail the pitchers out. But the pitchers improved over time. I mean, the Kentucky series that you probably don't remember anymore because we're on to football, but like your bullpen was atrocious the last 2 days of that series, and you found a way to get it done in Game 3. But by the end of the season, you could count on Gavin Guidry. You could count on Riley Cooper. And you made it work. Nate Ackenhausen was awesome. To be a championship team, both sides of this for LSU, to be an SEC Western Division championship team, the defense is going to have to come up toward the offense. It may not get all the way there, but it's going to have to get close. If it doesn't happen, then you're going to lose more games. But it's a long season. You just have to hope at this point that that's the case. I think they have good coaches. I think they have reasonably good players. They've got to improve, and that's got to start on Saturday with the 5 o'clock kickoff against Ole Miss. I trust the offense is going to score some points in that game. Is your defense going to be good enough to win it? We'll see on Saturday, and I'll give my pick at the end of the show coming up on Friday. 104.5 ESPN, along with Acura of Baton Rouge, teaming up to honor our military and raise funds for Folds of Honor. This nonprofit organization provides scholarships to the spouses and children of soldiers who were killed or disabled in service. Donate to this important cause. Visit our website, 1045ESPN.com. Everyone who makes a donation is going to be entered to win exclusive prizes. Folds of Honor, to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. Sharif Ishak on the black and gold. What does he think about the Saints' first loss of the year? That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, certainly a champion of Louisiana. By producing top-quality, game-changing products, Marucci has garnered a loyal following among athletes from aspiring amateurs to professional stars. I tell you most days about my guy Anthony Rizzo, captain of the greatest era in the history of the Cubs baseball. Uses Marucci stuff. Usually comes down to Baton Rouge for an LSU game in the fall, and he'll probably have some time this fall because the Yankees not too awesome. Marucci Sports is awesome. They're a champion of Louisiana. It's not just the bats. Look, this is a company that's got a lot of different facets. Baseball Performance Lab has expanded their workforce by 137%, helping to attract and keep top talent here in the state of Louisiana. Meanwhile, their Marucci World Series serves as a tourism juggernaut, drawing thousands of youth athletes, families, and coaches to Greater Baton Rouge every single July. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always...
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sean Salisbury joins us, and how do you fix the Saints offensive line? Former Saint Germain Bushrod will tell us. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. It's 2:30 on Tuesday. That means it's time to talk to Sharif Ishak, WDSU. He joins us via the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif, how are you, sir?
I'd rather be stuck in that hotel elevator in Charlotte than watch the second half offense from that Packers.
Well, how about the first half offense? That wasn't exactly a work of art.
No, but at least that would be like being stuck in the elevator for 5 minutes. I'd rather be stuck in the elevator for the whole second half.
All right, what can they do to fix the offense moving forward? That includes Carr and Kamara and Winston and whatever the case may be. Like, what do they need?
Well, they need their $200 million offensive line to play like they're the $200 million offensive line, because it has been an absolute mess through 3 games, 12 sacks. Carr took 11 of them, and the funny part about that, well, not so funny because he got hurt, that was on him. It was on Derek Carr because he held that ball a little bit too long, but it has truly been a mess, Hunt, whether in a run game, in the pass protection. It doesn't matter. If Carr could play this week, it really doesn't matter at this point, even with Alvin coming back. If that offensive line is going to continue the way it's been playing, it's just the offense isn't really going to get much done. They might hit a couple big plays, and it might look great on TV, and it might look great in person, but it's just not going to be sustainable. The defense did everything it could. It really did everything it could. I think it was just flat out tired in that game because the offense just could not do anything, legitimately anything. 6 series, 5 straight punts, missed field goal, 30 plays, 101 yards, 21 pass, 9 rush. I think the thing that bothers me the most is, and a lot of people, is that they didn't run the ball in the second half up 17-0 and run some of the clock. I just don't understand that. They were running it at 4 yards pop at some point in time in game.
Is there any hope for the offensive line?
Well, there's always hope. Maybe it's technique to me. Technique and fundamentals in terms of, like, what's going on and the issues. Like, I could not believe that I saw Ramczyk and McCoy absolutely look like turnstiles in a couple of those sacks. My mind was blown. 2 guys like that, I was like, whoa. It looked like they just got beat without doing a thing on the line. But it's technique. It really is. Is Dennis Allen going to make some changes? He was asked about it yesterday at the press conference, and he says, we'll see. I mean, Cesar Ruiz is in concussion protocols. Like, who knows if he'll play this week? What are they going to do? What are they going to shuffle around? Are they going to move James Hurst to left tackle and, tell Trevor Penning he's a backup and move Pete to guard and maybe play Landon Young a little bit more? I mean, they've just got to figure out the right rotation and right starting offensive line, because it's been abysmal. Now, it would be worse if the Saints were 1-2 or 0-3, but at least they're 2-1 and have a chance to, fix it as the season goes along. And they just need one good game, Hunt. One good game. I think if they have that one good game, it may start clicking for them.
What's the latest on Derek Carr?
Week to week. I talked to an orthopedic surgeon who worked with the Astros, and he went to LSU, and he said, look, if it was the playoffs, they'd probably shoot him up in the shoulder and let him play. Now, Drew Brees in 2014 had the same issue, went out the following week and threw for 5 touchdowns against the Steelers. And I think Jameis had the same injury in 2017, played the next week, threw for like 350 and 3 touchdowns. Now, will he play this week? I don't know. I mean, it's game 4 of a 17-game season. I doubt that they roll him out there and play him this week. I think he misses just one game. He's back next week for the Patriots game.
How does this offense need to look different with Jameis playing quarterback?
Well, Jameis can launch it down the field, but they're going to have to be a little smarter than they were last year when they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's another good defense. They're playing another good defensive front. So to have Alvin back in the lineup, that is a godsend for them. He's going to be able to open up the offense a little bit more, create space for some other players, and hopefully, look, I hope that Pete Carmichael is correct this offseason during training camp, that they're going to go back to using him in the passing game, whether it's the wheel route, rail route, and definitely the screen. We have not seen many screens this year, which is a little weird. I know because Alvin has not been in the offense for the first 3 games, but you just hope that having him back in there opens it up, especially in the passing game for him, because they need Alvin to be productive in the passing game.
Where are you with Pete Carmichael right now?
I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, some of the stuff isn't on him. It truly is on the offensive line, but if it continues going this way I think the thing that bothered me in that game was the 21 pass and 9 rush in the second half when you were up 17-0 with 10 plus minutes left in the fourth quarter. Use Taysom. use him a little bit more in offense. Let him take the snaps. Let him bulldoze his way for 5 to 6 yards and move the sticks a few times. I think that's where I would be a little frustrated with Pete. There were times that, maybe they should have run on first down. There's some times that you say, hey, why are you not throwing here? So a lot of these things are hindsight is 2020, but they're becoming, there's some issues that have, piled up since last year. I mean, you saw in that Buccaneers game when they blew the lead in Tampa on Monday Night Football last year. It was the same situation. It's just like they stopped playing offense. They just stopped. And it's just, you can't play the cliche, you can't play the clock. I mean, you're still playing another team at their place. And I think Pete has to figure something out. And you will not have a single excuse now that you have Alvin Kamara back in the lineup, a guy that's, the best player on that offense. Find a way to use him the right way and win that game.
How much you blame Blake Grupe for that loss?
Very minimal. And he blamed himself. I like the accountability thing. He said everything was good. The hold, the snap, everything was good. He just missed it. And, he took point. I like a guy who could take the blame and accountability. Little blame. I give him very little blame. Look, he should have made the kick, 46-yarder. A lot of, if you're in the NFL, it's no longer high school and college. You got to make those kicks. But the Saints should have never been in that position in the first place. Never should have been in that position to blow a 17-point lead with 10-plus minutes left and having him kicking the go-ahead, which could have been a game-winning field goal. He gets a little blame, but the rest of the blame, the blame's on the offense. So the whole blame's on the offense. I'm not even blaming the defense. I'm not even going to throw a single blame on the defense because they did everything they did to hold the team to 18 points. You can't lose that game.
You buying the Bucs as a legit NFC South contender?
At this point, I don't even know who is the best team in the NFC South because each team has its own deficiencies and issues. The Buccaneers, well, they did go against, maybe the best team in the entire NFC last night in Philadelphia, enforcing their will on the ground with a great offensive line. Great offensive line, Hunt. Will the Saints have a great offensive line Sunday?
No.
Probably not. If they have a good one, they're going to have a good chance to win the game. Am I buying the Bucs? Their offense is not that great, to me, in my opinion, with Baker Mayfield. So, no, I'd much rather take the Saints or the Falcons over the Bucs. I just can't trust Baker Mayfield. I'm sure that's going to come back to bite me in one of these two games when they face off.
Well, let's put the injury aside for now, and let's put Sunday aside for now. How do you feel about Derek Carr through 3 games with the Saints?
I just don't think he's there yet. He was showing that game in that first half. That drive with Jimmy Graham, that ended with the Jimmy Graham touchdown. I thought that was maybe one of the better drives all season. And I said, all right, maybe the third game is the game that they actually progress. He actually progresses in this offense. I saw some glimpses. I really did see some glimpses from Carr in that first half, but I just don't see it yet. I said, let me see this team offense after 4 or 5 games. That's why I'm still waiting. I'm wanting to see this team around 4, 5, 6, game 6, just to see how this offense is with Derek Carr. If he misses one game, you wait till I just want to see where they are, like maybe when they go to Houston. If he misses just this game, he'll have the Patriots and Texans. Or if he misses 2 games, he'll have the Texans, and then they come back home for that short week against the Jags. So, I'm not ready to, to roll the bus on Derek Carr and say, man, he's awful, he's bad, because there are a lot of other issues. Of course, the big issue being the offensive line. So, I think he still has some adjusting to do in that offense and playing behind that offensive line, which really hasn't helped him at all.
Do you feel any differently about the Saints than you did before they kicked off the season opener?
No, 2-1. 2-1. I said, look, when we were in Carolina for that Monday night game, I was like, they have to split these 2 games. It'd be bigger for them to win the Carolina game because it's a divisional game. Would have been nice to be 3-0, but 2-1 is better than 1-2. And I'm pretty much still on par with the 10-7, maybe 11-6. It's just where I thought they would be.
Better get that offensive line in gear come Sunday when the Bucs come to the Dome. Sharif, we'll do it again next week. Thanks, sir.
Anytime, buddy.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU, joining us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline, talking black and gold as we do with him each and every Tuesday. It is a little shocking to see the Saints offensive line perform that poorly when you consider, as Sharif said, it's a $200 million unit. You gave Ramczyk the big dollars. You just gave Ruiz a nice extension. You've invested a first-round pick in Andrews Pete and a first-round pick in Trevor Penning and a first-round pick in McCoy. Like, it's been the most focal point of your asset management in terms of the draft and free agency. And well, in the draft, I mean, it's first round picks and second round picks and extended guys, and it's bad. It's just terrible. And without healthy running backs and with a new quarterback trying to get acclimated to his wide receiving group, it just has looked atrocious. And I'm right there with Sharif as far as blaming the offense for not getting any more points in the second half to make this thing work. And then I blame Groupie a little bit more because I just need my NFL kicker to make the 46-yarder. Like that is what the position calls for, to step up in the biggest spot and change it from a loss to a win, and he didn't do it. So I don't think that's acceptable. But it's not like I would cut the guy the next day. It's a big deal when you got a kick to win it and you can't knock it through. Obviously, kind of goes without saying there. All right, we'll play some Take It or Leave It when we come back and get on down the road. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric, 40 years as a family-owned business here in South Louisiana. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They're a certified Generac generator dealer, and not just that, a premier Generac dealer. It means they're in the top 3% nationwide. I tell you often about their ability to monitor your generator. When they install it, they can monitor it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if it fails in the course of a storm, and maybe you've evacuated and you're not there, well, they can show up and fix it because they'll know that it's failed. Maybe it's just a random Wednesday and something happens and it just malfunctions. You wouldn't know because you're not calling on it to operate at that point, but Boudreaux's Electric will know because they monitor it 24/7. They can send a technician out to make sure it's fixed for when you need that power. My power went out yesterday morning, briefly, but it did go out. Boudreaux's generator would have been nice. However, I'm about to move here shortly, so probably not going to put one in my home right now. You should, though. Call them at the same number they have had for 40 years, 985-397-1562. It's Boudreaux's Electric at 985-397-1562.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded. Because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
Wednesday's OTB, the return of flustering as Matt Flynn breaks down what he's seen on the football field, but probably not because we just talk about nonsense, and break down how the Saints are going to look to bounce back against the Buccaneers. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right. Closing down the shop here on a Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. I hope your work week is off to a good start. We'll have a What If Wednesday tomorrow. Looking forward to that. J.D. Pickell of On3 Sports talking college football. That's always fun. Plus, the SEC football power rankings. Those will be coming to you about 23 hours and 30 minutes from right now. So we'll get right on that. All right. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Tennessee will be wearing their dark mode uniforms for their game on Saturday night against South Carolina. Uniforms are
Yes.
take it or leave it.
I mean, this is a slam dunk. It is a leave it every single day. Tennessee does not have black as a school color. It's like when LSU wore the black baseball uniforms. It's just not. The picture's up here. Bex put it up on the screen. It looks terrible. Now, Tennessee's got a little bit of a harsh color there. That orange is not for everybody, but it's uniquely theirs, and they need to just wear that. Their smoky grays look terrible, and these black uniforms look awful. They're playing South Carolina, who actually does have black as a school color. It's just nonsensical. And if the players get super fired up, that's awesome and fantastic. I heard our guys were super fired up in the icy white uniforms last year, and they got dusted by Tennessee on their home field. So uniforms makes this one an easy declaration. Atrocious uniforms by Tennessee. Should be assessed a 15-yard penalty and maybe 6 points from the start for wearing them.
All right, moving on. Blue cheese is better than ranch on wings. Take it or leave it.
You take that all day. Absolutely.
I'll take it.
I like ranch dressing. It's good.
Yep.
Blue cheese is divine. I love blue cheese. I would eat it on a snow tire if you gave me. I just could eat. I love blue cheese, and that is always the pick on wings. If you want some wings and some delicious blue cheese, how about Plucker Sports Trivia tonight, huh? We'll be there at 8:30, Nicholson location. The Cubs play at 6:40, so it'll be crunch time by the time the sports trivia starts. So I'll be beside myself, I'm sure. You can come enjoy that and the sports trivia. You can win Plucker's gift cards, drink delicious draft beers, awesome chicken wings, and if you're smart, you'll get blue cheese instead of ranch. But if you want to get some ranch, I'm not gonna hold that against you. I just think you've chosen an inferior product. Either way.
Plucker's blue cheese definitely goated. Moving on. Justin Thomas says he's not keeping receipts on social media for those that said his inclusion in the Ryder Cup team was a mistake. Thomas will have a good week in Italy. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
He did have some really bad rounds, and he missed the cut in some majors, and he's not in the form that he was. It's not like he shoots 82 every time he goes out there. And he played pretty well in, I think that was Napa 2 weeks ago. So he'll be fine. He's one of the guys who's been in this stage a lot of times. He'll have his nerves under control. He's got his buddy next to him in Jordan Spieth. And guess what? If he goes out there and can't find the club face on Friday morning, then sit him for a couple sessions. You only got to send 8 guys out there, and there's 12 on the team. So I think that choosing Justin Thomas was just fine. I think he will play well. They don't set these courses up like the U.S. Open. They've got some drivable par 4s and easy par 5s. There's a little bit of rough, but this is not the toughest golf you play all year. It's just the environment that makes it so tough, and they set the course up for some birdies. So that, I think he'll be fine. He makes a lot of birdies. He's a great wedge player. He's going to be just fine. If he was keeping receipts on all the people on social media, he would have a long list because most people think he should not be on the team. I'm fine with it, so we shall see.
Last one here. The Denver Broncos are 0-3 after giving up a 70-piece to the Miami Dolphins, and they also lost to the hapless Raiders and Washington Commanders. Sean Payton will be back on television in a few years. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I think he's probably exploring options mentally for his next quarterback. I know that Russell Wilson's got a huge contract, and I know that's going to be very difficult to deal with. But if Sean Payton believes that there's someone else that can give him a better chance than what Russell Wilson gives him, then I think he'll do it. I'm fully aware that Russell Wilson didn't play much a role in them giving up 70 points, so there's something to be said for that. But Sean thinks he can win with Taysom Hill. So if he needs to put Russell Wilson on the bench and go get somebody else that he thinks that he can make work, then we'll see. But he's a good coach. I'm not ready to say that Drew Brees was the only force behind that run of Saints greatness. Peyton was a big piece to it as well. I just think he's got a decaying quarterback and probably a roster that's just not very good. Full disclosure, I did not watch the Dolphins and the Broncos game. I did not see how the Dolphins ran up 70 points. That was not on my radar. I was watching the Saints on Sunday and trying to play with my kid. But it's probably not a very good roster, and I think that he'll do some overhauling in time. They'll probably all come from the Saints. All he's done is like sign old Saints players. So maybe Ian Book's his next guy. But we'll see. That's it for Take It or Leave It on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. As I mentioned previously, excited for tomorrow's show. Going to get into those power rankings. I haven't given that a lot of thought now. Just as we sit here for some spoilers for tomorrow, you would think Missouri's going to have to move a little bit. They've been way down low, and they got another win. And then towards the top, I think LSU's probably right there with Georgia, but we'll see. Ole Miss probably got to take a back seat to Bama after what we watched, even though last week I had Tennessee ranked ahead of Florida, and Florida beat them. So got some things to think about on the power ranking side of things. Once you get between like 3 and 10, it's just a hodgepodge. I guess Auburn's going to have to back up because they looked atrocious and they got real quarterback issues, but we'll put pen to paper this evening before we go to Pluckers and kind of kick around some things, and we'll see. Inevitably, it'll receive a lot of hate, but that's kind of the point, to see if you can stir some emotion in people these days. The emotion in Baton Rouge is a little lukewarm on last week. I'm excited to start diving in to LSU and Ole Miss tomorrow, and just it's such a big game. If LSU can get to 3-0 in the league with 2 wins and then go to Missouri, and I'll be quite honest with you, I don't make a Missouri pick for like 10 days from now, surely I'm going to have to pick LSU to go win that game. I struggle to think that I could seriously consider LSU a threat to win the division and even the conference, and then consider them going to Missouri a tough spot. But we'll see. I got to do a little bit more research on Missouri. But it starts with beating Ole Miss coming up on Saturday, so we'll start to dive heavily into that game coming up tomorrow. If you missed today's show, as always, it's on demand. A lot of y'all listen to us on demand, and we certainly appreciate it. And we make it to where you can do it just about anywhere you find your audio. It's Spotify, it's Google, it's Apple Podcast, it's 1045ESPN.com, and, of course, on YouTube as well. Open the show talking about Jameis Winston in for Derek Carr. Maybe it's 0 time, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month. We'll see. I've gotten some people that have sent some text in, and Sharif was talking earlier that some injury that some quarterbacks have played with over time. So maybe Jameis doesn't play, but if he does, I gave my thoughts on what that would mean at 1 o'clock. Billy Embody on recruiting. LSU got a chance to flip any of these Aggie commits on the defensive line. He answered some of those questions. Glenn West talking Tigers at 1:30. Talked about the LSU defensive backs at 2 o'clock and what they've done through a couple of SEC games and what they need to do moving forward, plus some sound from Brian Kelly on LSU's running game, and Sharif Ishak on the Saints. If you want your Saints content, Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Our subscribers are going up there on that channel. We certainly appreciate that. Hunt on LSU, also a great spot. It's all football all the time on both of those channels, and Beck does an awesome job of getting those videos posted each and every day. So if you missed any of the show, always invite you to catch that stuff on demand. That'll do it for us here on this Tuesday. I hope to see you out at Pluckers this evening at 8:30. If not, I can catch you the same time and same place. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll see you for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show coming up tomorrow. Have a good one.